him, and hence, on behalf of the Asiatic Big Cat Society, the Vanrai Foundation, and the Rotary Club of Nagpur Elite, I welcome all the guests here today, and I expect the gathering will be the August gathering here is going to enjoy whatever is being shared about the conservation input in Tiger project. I thank all the people who have joined. It's a midnight in United States of America. Still, not less than 80 to 90 people have joined from United States, Europe, Singapore, Dubai, and of course Kenya. I thank you all for joining from international level, and people who have joined from Bangalore, the NGOs who have joined from Mumbai, Delhi, Ahmedabad, Pune. I thank you all for joining this webinar, and I request Mr. Sunil Ramanan ji to take over the mic to the webinar. Mr. Sunil Ramanan.
Good morning, Ajay. Am I audible and visible? Ajay, am I visible and audible? Ajay? Hello?
Sunil just told. Sunil just told.
Yeah.
Mic is being put. Audio. Please go ahead.
Am I audible and visible too? Ajay, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes. We all can see you.
Am I audible? Ajay, yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Am I loud and clear?
Yes, clear.
So should I start?
Please start, sir.
First of all, thank you so much, Ajay. You happen to be the organizer of today's event. Thank you so much for this invitation. And it's a very salubrious afternoon here in Pune. Weather is overcast, but very pleasant. At the outset, I would like to thank you for having invited me here. All the dignitaries on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, I wish all a very fruitful, successful International Tiger Day 2021. May the tiger live long. Now, I think it would be in the fitness of things to narrate the history of the Asiatic Big Cat Society, how it almost came into being, but still hangs fire. Well, this was around a decade ago when Ajay and I and a certain friend of ours, we were just having a chat over certain matters, and he explained to us that he had a certain group of people who were toying with the idea of reintroducing the Asiatic cheetah in the wild. Now, I very vividly recall that some years ago when I was SP Nagpur Rural, that in course of one of my Tiger Cell meetings, I had been informed that the Asiatic cheetah was very much present here in the forests of India, and that it was spotted last in 1948 somewhere in Bastar, never to be spotted again. And this was a very interesting idea that he had floated, very interesting, very ambitious. And we all said that if this is really feasible and possible, he said there are indeed some cheetahs in Iran, and they could be reintroduced in the wilds of India. So that is how we all thought of forming a society and buttressing his efforts in the reintroduction of the cheetah through the medium of the society. Now, as we all know, Indian forests have a very unique status internationally, because ours is the only nation which has been home to 4 big cats: the Royal Bengal tiger, the Asiatic lion, the leopard, and cheetah once upon a time, which is now extinct. So we began working out the modalities, and a lot of spade work was indeed done, but unfortunately I was transferred out, and the society never really saw the light of the day in its very formal sense. But Ajay, now that this topic has come up again, I assure you that we will do the right things to. Am I audible or not, Ajay?
You're audible.
With a view to ensuring that the society does see the light of the day, and that we contribute our might in conservation of not only the tiger, which happens to be the largest or the biggest cat on earth, but also help the department do what is exactly right. Now, I have chosen a certain topic to discuss here today, a topic which is very dear to my heart. There are a lot of topics that can indeed be discussed in the furtherance of Project Tiger, but I'll confine myself to a certain topic in which I do have a certain background. Today, I'll be touching upon the legal provisions, law enforcement, intelligence collection in respect of forest and wildlife offenses, that is crimes committed under two distinct acts. One is the Indian Forest Act, which was introduced way back in 1927 in the British era, and it was 45 years later. I don't know why there was this huge gap in introducing the Wildlife Protection Act in 1972. So a gap of 45 years, and very amazingly, in this intervening period or up to 1972, hunting was not an offense per se, and game licenses were also, I'm given to believe, introduced or given by the Forest Department. And it was only after 1972 that hunting was banned and made a criminal offense. As we all know, these are two very bulky acts which run, one act runs into 85 sections, the other into 66. But there are two portions of this act which I would very quickly dwell upon and then sum up. Sections 52 to 69 prescribes penalties and procedures in the Indian Forest Act, and section 50 to 58 of the Wildlife Protection Act is about preventing and detections of wildlife offenses, which essentially include poaching, trading in animal parts, skin, bone, stuff, and the like. Now, to share something with one and all, there has always been a lack of certitude in the other law enforcing agencies as regards whether other agencies do have the authority or the power to investigate offenses under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. And the issue was settled in a 2002 judgment by the Honorable Supreme Court of India in Motilal versus the Central Bureau of Investigation, wherein the Supreme Court gave a judgment stating that the Wildlife Protection Act, Section 50 of the Act, is not a complete code in itself, and that other agencies, the police in particular, do have the power to investigate independently offenses under the Wildlife Protection Act, regardless of the fact that officers of the Forest Department do have some additional powers in terms of action to be taken in regard to seized properties, actions which include forfeiture, freezing of assets, so on and so forth. But that is more a departmental thing than something truly in the furtherance of prosecution and conviction of the offenders. So now what has happened, now this is loud thinking, and this is what I'm sharing. This is once again my opinion, subject to debate, that there has been a certain reluctance on the part of Forest Department, call it reluctance, or maybe a desire to keep away from other law enforcing agencies. And this is one area that I would like to touch upon here in today's talk and discussion. See, what I would state here is that offenses, wildlife offenses under the Wildlife Protection Act have of late are being committed by organized crime syndicates. They have huge networks, they have their own procedures, criminal procedures that they adopt. And tackling organized crime syndicates, handling repeat offenders, collection of criminal intelligence in respect of prevention of crime and also detection. Criminal intelligence is not merely confined to having informants who tip you off and then you go ahead doing your job, or somebody coming and telling us who the likely offender is. Now, intelligence collection is extremely technology driven with modern methods like lawful interception, surveillance methods, so on and so forth. So my suggestion and plea here would be is that it's high time that exchange of information, exchange of ideas, exchange of concepts in respect of prevention and detection of offences under the Wildlife Protection Act as well as the Indian Forest Act ought to happen between the police department and the forest department, because though the forest department is extremely capable in terms of management of forests and wildlife, when it comes to investigation and intelligence collection, the police department does have a certain edge. And I'll just give you certain interesting experiences and examples. See, this was way back, I believe, in 2001, 2 roughly, when a member of the Legislative Assembly petitioned the Honorable High Court at Nagpur with a complaint that large-scale felling of trees was happening in southern Gadchiroli and parts of Chandrapur. I was SP Nagpur Rural then, and as a matter of fact, a committee was constituted comprising forest officials, police officials, to look into the issue and submit a report. A certain report was submitted, and it was the time when Mr. PKB Chakravarti was the Inspector General of Police, Nagpur Range, the post that Chiranjeevi holds currently. And he had then floated an idea with the government of amending section 110 CRPC to bind over those of them who were habitually committing offences under the Wildlife Protection Act and the Indian Forest Acts. And very unusually, now this I would say unusual because nothing of this sort has happened anywhere in the country. So he also recommended to the government empowering officers of the forest department of a certain rank to be appointed as special executive magistrate to wield powers under section 110 in respect of these offences. What would have happened in essence is that as a special executive magistrate empowered under these sections, the forest officer of that particular rank could have called upon or directed an offender to execute a bond for good behavior, and that would have been in the furtherance of containing forest crimes. And he pursued it very vehemently. It almost happened, but then it petered out for reasons best known to the government. So maybe something like this can also be taken up once again. The second important thing is the desirability of clubbing certain offences under the Wildlife Protection Act and the Indian Forest Act with the Maharashtra Control of Organized Crime Act. Because once again, to repeat what I already said, there are gangs, there are syndicates, there are organized crime syndicates that operate like a well-oiled machine and commit these offences, and it remains to be seen how many of them even do actually get convicted and spend time behind bars. The Maharashtra Control of Organized Crime Act is a very stringent act. It has been modeled on the lines of TADA, and this is a very unusual act which gives police officers of a certain rank to record confessions, and that has been of a great help in securing convictions. So my second suggestion is, apart from 110 CRPC, is to tag forest offences with Maharashtra Control of Organized Crime Act and clubbing these two and forwarding the case to the courts for trial. And the final thing which I would state here is to have a very august Criminal Intelligence Center for Prevention and Detection of Forest Crimes, which is, I think, the need of the hour, because advanced intelligence as well as intelligence in respect of offences already committed is indeed the need of the hour. And this is one thing which cannot be overlooked. If this does not happen, then the offenders would be always a step ahead of the law enforcement and the forest department, for the very simple reason that in the absence of technology and in the absence of right measures, there would always be a gap between detection of offences, collection of hard intelligence, and stuff of that sort. So to conclude, I think all these things need to be factored in as we speak of conservation of the forests and also the tiger project. The tiger numbers, as we all know, have been steadily going up, and the department does deserve a pat on the back. but simultaneously offenders also need to be punished. And there has to be an orchestrated effort. Now, how the modalities can always be worked out, but an orchestrated effort is the need of the hour, wherein these agencies get together and work out something wherein different organs work in tandem and do it. And if that happens, then I believe Maharashtra would be one of the very first states in the country to do something like this, wherein everyone doesn't, every single one doesn't blow his own trumpet and tune, and wherein people work as an orchestra and the effort is orchestrated. So this is something I thought I must share with you. These are some of my views on investigation, detection, and collection of criminal intelligence. Ajay, thank you for the invitation. I'll keep it short because there are a very large number of experts and speakers after me. And thank you for the invitation. Thank you so much.